like at the top of my mind right now. So I got a request today to do something with an outside agency, to write a grant, an outside agency that they want me to take the lead on. It's an agency that funds, it's Patel, they fund us a lot of money, they give us lots of money. So they want to do this grant. And so they tell me that the grant is due in 10 days. So, okay, you know, I can deal with 10 days, I'll figure out how to make that work. So when I pulled the RFP up, yeah, it's due Monday at noon.
Oh.
Which means that I have to have lots of, how do you use these conversations to go and, I have lots of promises to break in the next 3 days in order to make that one happen. How do you do that? Like, what kind of conversations do you use when you have to juggle things like that?
So you're revoking a bunch of promises.
Yeah.
So the way to do it is to notify them that you're revoking the promise. So I might call you up and say, Kim, I had a promise that I was going to have this for you. I'm calling to let you know that I'm revoking that promise.
So what kind of conversation is that?
It's a closure conversation.
Closure?
You're just
Okay.
acknowledging you're not going to keep that promise. And
You will be getting that conversation.
well, but there's another part. You also have now a broken agreement.
Right,
So now you have to deal with the broken agreement.
right, and renegotiate it.
Well, and acknowledge the broken agreement. So the first part is to recognize you had a promise, you're not going to keep that promise, so you've broken an agreement. There are going to be costs,
Okay.
consequences you'd want to explore to find out what are the costs and consequences. You know, and they should be, whatever their reaction is from you breaking that promise is completely appropriate, and you should have no reaction to anything they say or do, because you're the one that broke the promise. So your job in that context is just to really get what they have to say, and then deal with whatever the breakdown is, and then make whatever appropriate promise. In some cases, it won't be a deal. They say, no problem, Kim. If you can get it for me the next week, that'll be okay. In other cases, it could be a substantial issue. But it would just be, it's a closure conversation with particular attention toward the amending the broken agreement. And clearly you would apologize for doing that and all that stuff. Yeah, you know you can revoke promises, right? When you make a promise, you can revoke the promise. Revoking a promise means that when I've made a promise, if I made a promise to Kim to have something for her by Friday, and I know today that I'm not going to have it, it's now time for me to revoke the promise. The revoking the promise can't occur the minute that it's due. Oh yeah, I revoked that promise. No, that's you didn't keep it. Revoking is actually an intentional and creative act on your behalf to be responsible for the fact that you are no longer agreeing to that promise. And that requires a closure conversation. And you know, people will do whatever they do with that. And it would be appropriate that they do that.